They believed they could access your destiny without any repercussions. They thought they could pull back the curtain on your life without confrontation. But they did not anticipate your arrival. Your soul, your energy, and your entire conscious being appeared in that reading room while someone paid to reveal your secrets. You showed your true power by transcending spiritual dimensions and asserting your presence. The reader gasped, and his palms trembled. You demonstrated your spiritual power and got everyone's attention. So it was more than a simple spiritual intervention. No one can change your destiny without your consent, and they will never forget it now. In the stuffy apartment, the incense smoke smoked heavily. The dim light from the lamps reflected off the cards laid out on a velvet cloth. A reader made his living by seeing the futures of others. He had doubled his usual pace for tonight's reading. He was familiar with repetitive tasks, predictable energy, and hundreds of readings. This reading seemed different because the client initially came with a photograph, your photograph. "I need to know everything about this person's future," the client said, and he moved it around on the table. "Everything. Before we go any further, please help this message reach more people by clicking the like button below this video. Don't forget to subscribe, because it is your duty to help spread this message far and wide. For every chosen one who continues to question their own worth and power, what you are about to hear is much more than a message. It is a wake-up call. Together, let us raise the flame." The reader paused, lingered over your picture. His hands clasped with a strange hesitation, a warning voiced in the periphery of his awareness. Triple compensation equaled triple work, so he ignored the feeling. Practiced fingers shuffled the cards. The first card touched the table. Time stopped. The reader's throat constricted from breathing. The temperature suddenly dropped. Every hair on his body stood on end. Electricity pricked his flesh. The incense smoke froze instead of drifting upwards, and then twisted angrily and impossibly against gravity. The smoke began to swirl around the table and his painting. "He's here," she said automatically, in a whisper. His client's eyes widened. "Who is here?" said the reader, unable to articulate. There was nothing left between the worlds. The veil between the worlds parted. Huge shadows formed from the erratic flickering of the lights and moved regardless of where they came from. On their shelves, the reader's crystals vibrated. Suddenly, the stones he had collected for protection became worthless. The spirit guides disappeared, fleeing from something they could not face. You had come, not as a passive energy to be deciphered or a subject to be read. You showed up fully awake, aware and in the moment, seeing, hearing, and judging. The reader's hands trembled as they touched the table. He had been doing spiritual work for 20 years, but he had never experienced anything like this. If you feel inspired, consider making a large, grateful donation of $100 or $200 to this channel. Your donations allow us to continue sharing these divine teachings with the world and bring blessings, love, and hope to those who need it most. No ghosts were passing through here. This was not a gentle mentor giving information. This was not a consoling ancestor. This was an unclassifiable presence. This was an uncontrollable energy. This was you in all your glory, in all your power, in all your superiority. This was a very different matter. The client fidgeted restlessly in his chair. This reading was the result of a great preparation. When 5 different mediums had brought up your name, they had all flatly refused. After initially agreeing, 2 more had suddenly changed their schedules and called back. This reader was the 9th effort, the most expensive, and the last resort. The client had been calling, phoning, and following up on suggestions for weeks. Each rejection made them more determined. Write 88 in the comments to start using your light to destroy evil all over the world. With each rejection, you became more enigmatic. Every psychic who rejected them fueled their obsession. You and the client had a history of unresolved issues, and unfinished business. Perhaps a jealous ex-partner who couldn't accept the breakup. Perhaps an enemy jealous of your success. Maybe someone who went behind your back and grinned in your face. Maybe you failed to live up to your relatives' expectations. Maybe you overstepped your employer too soon. Their desperation was more important than their motivation. The gloom that drove them revealed a lot about their personality. Experience what it is really like to be chosen. You are not alone on this journey. If you believe in your heart that you have been chosen, you are in the perfect spot. By choosing to join, you can further your relationship with us, access exclusive information, and get the help you need on your spiritual journey. It's not just about joining a group. It's about gaining access to special insights that can change your life and help you get closer to your divine purpose. Make your decision now and join us on this journey. Claim your right to be one of the chosen ones. Sign up today. It is impossible to ignore the power you have. Everything about their intentions was revealed by how far they went. They had to be aware of their weaknesses, their vulnerabilities, and their futures. They aspired to authority over the uncontrollable. They wanted control over what could not be subjugated. Knowledge, especially your knowledge, is power. The triple salary for this reading was a small price to pay for the secrets they sought. They mortgaged future security for present advantage. They sacrificed stability for the promise of control. They believed they were clever. They believed they were pulling the strings from a safe distance, as the moral equivalent of accessing someone's personal files. A clear, orderly, and impartial process. A business deal with a spiritual mercenary, with no accountability for the invasion and no connection to the fallout. What they didn't understand was that they hadn't hired someone to hack your spiritual data. They hadn't ordered a spiritual home invasion. They didn't organize a mystical surveillance operation. They had inadvertently established a direct connection with you. They created a bridge between worlds. They extended an invitation, and you accepted it. The client leaned forward, unaware of the grave mistake they had committed. "Why is it so cold in here? Is something wrong?" The reader's eyes never left the smoke spiral above your photo. "You didn't tell me who this person really is. I don't understand. You should have told me." Professional readers have developed instincts. They sense danger before it comes. This reader felt the warning signs from the very beginning. When he picked up the cards, he felt that they were heavy, unusually dense and resistant. The pendulum on his shelf, which had been standing still all evening, began to swing wildly as soon as your photograph touched his desk. His spirit guides, normally chattering with advice and insights, fell silent. In the negative space, the stillness itself was a message, a loud warning. Spiritual resistance manifested itself physically with increased pressure in his chest before he shuffled the first card. "Don't do this." The message could not have been clearer without words. This is not someone you can read without permission. This is not someone whose path you are interfering with. This is not someone whose energy you are touching uninvited. He ignored all the warning signs. Professional pride, the opportunity to impress a potential client, or triple the pay. The rationale seemed plausible for the moment. His fingers touched the first card, and he placed it on the table. Tower, sudden destruction, catastrophic change. The moment the card touched the velvet, everything changed. Reality itself seemed to bend. The boundaries between worlds thinned and disappeared. Write the number 99 in the comments to let the cosmos know you are ready. The circle no longer felt like his territory, his sanctuary, violated not by an intruder, but by his own actions. He had opened a door without realizing what was waiting on the other side. Most spiritual beings come gently, subtle impressions at the edge of awareness. A slight temperature change, a faint scent of flowers or smoke, a feeling of being watched, the whisper of a message, the gentle touch of a hand that is no longer physical, a slight disturbance in electromagnetic fields, a soft flicker of light. Spiritual visitors usually enter with reverence, hesitation, and respect for boundaries. They approach cautiously so as not to overwhelm the living. They wait to be recognized and ask permission. They are aware of their position in the hierarchy of worlds. You are not. The moment your name is announced above your picture, you have come with complete authority. There is no precise progression, no gradual appearance. One moment missing, the next moment fully present. 1 minute separate, 1 minute fully in the space. The mood of the room did not change. It was completely transformed. The air became electrified, condensed, potentially charged. The space between particles compressed. The space between realms collapsed. What was once a circle became a gateway between worlds. The reader exhaled a breath as the clear sense of another consciousness entered his mind, completely overwhelming his perception without even affecting his thoughts or awareness. His mental barriers immediately broke down. His mental barriers were broken down. He did not wait for an invitation, did not ask permission to enter, did not respect the boundaries of his sacred space, or acknowledge his authority within his own space. The rules of spiritual visitation are broken when you take charge, when you take back the space, when you dominate without effort, when you establish authority without a struggle, when you quickly transform his territory into your territory, and when you change the spiritual geography of the room just by being there. Energy condensed, focused, and concentrated until it was almost solidified. Light is bent where it shouldn't be. Shadows formed where there were no obstacles to the light. Who called me? As your energy echoed in the room, your request was clearly visible. Words formed without sound and were understood without being heard. The question resonated in their blood and bones. The call to responsibility was sent directly to the mind. A force that made the material world accept the spiritual. A force that made material reality bow to the spiritual will. A presence that forced the walls. A command that shook the windows. A whisper, a suggestion, or a force that made the physical world accept the spiritual. The reader's hands were shaking wildly. There were cards all over the table. The Tower card, a special message, lay face up at the client's feet. It was no coincidence that the Judgment card fell exactly on your picture. The rest of the deck scattered like frightened birds, some cards even lying on the edge. The client was pushed back in his chair, his eyes roaming around the room, searching for something visible to justify his terror, looking for a physical explanation for a metaphysical event. Their rational minds were desperately trying to categorize the uncategorizable. What's happening? The client's voice grew louder with each word. Their confidence evaporated, their control dissipated. Something beyond their comprehension overshadowed their strategy. Their arrogance was replaced by a primal fear of the unknown. The reader could not answer. His throat was knotted. His breath came in quick, weak gasps. 20 years of spiritual practice had suddenly become useless. Decades of experience provided no protection, no context, no precedent. His professional demeanor was shattered by something he had never expected. It was beyond his experience and beyond his ability to control. You came first. You are the pioneers. Others came after you. Many more. The generations of your lineage, your ancestors, walk in silence. The ancient forces in harmony with the path of your soul are your spirit guides. Your guardians are fierce, watchful beings dedicated to your spiritual safety. They come like a divine army, well-organized, disciplined, and powerful. The reader felt them approaching, the tension growing with each new arrival. Even the client, lacking spiritual training, felt the flow of invisible energies. The increasing intensity was too much for the small space to handle. The barriers grew larger and smaller with each new arrival. There were crooked pictures on the walls. The books on the shelves vibrated. The room was filled with angry rainbows as the crystal hanging in the window spun wildly. The customer's face turned pale. "There are too many," the reader murmured. "Too many." The reader was at a loss for words to describe the spiritual court gathered around you. Too many what? He no longer owned the room. Someone had taken over his sacred sanctuary. The matter was no longer in his client's control. All his plans had fallen apart. The client had come to find out about you, your weaknesses and your expectations. They expected to be the one to conduct the interrogation, do the research, and take charge. They hardly noticed the change because the reversal was so profound. The cards on the table rearranged themselves. Not for you, not for them, not in any order that the reader would notice. Like a spotlight, your energy was focused on asking questions, not being asked and not being probed. The customer felt transparent, exposed, and naked. All your accounts, motivations, and complaints are exposed by your spiritual gaze. Their foreheads were drenched with sweat. Their ribs were beaten by their hearts. "Stop it," they ordered, their voices trembling. The reader slowly shook his head. "I can't," the reader's voice trembled with confidence. "What do you mean you can't? This is your place, your session." "Not anymore." Unintentionally, the client's secrets came to light. "This is no longer my reading." Their hidden agenda was revealed. They came to show you the future, but instead they showed you their past. Every act of sabotage, every jealous thought, and every manipulative moment was perfectly reflected back to them. Finally, they realized how bad their mistake was. The reading suddenly stopped. Your energy was withdrawn on its own initiative, not banished. The customer fled without making the final payment. Hours later, the reader was sitting alone in his apartment, his hands still shaking. Something deep inside him had been shattered. The intuition he had worked so hard to develop was gone. His spirit guides had lost their credibility. His confidence in himself was gone. In the days that followed, his other readings also failed. The cards produced meanings that made no sense. The predictions failed. Insights stopped flowing. Customers noticed. Bookings were not made. His reputation took a hit. His remembrance of you and the immense power of your energy invaded his dreams. He tried to read someone else's protected destiny, which was beyond his spiritual limits. The repercussions went beyond the failure at work. Strange mishaps haunted his home. Electronics broke down. Pipes burst. Keys went missing. There was no catastrophe, just a nagging feeling that something was wrong in his life. There are some spiritual errors that cannot be corrected. Once crossed, certain boundaries change your course permanently. He thought of giving up his profession altogether. That might have been safer. Perhaps the cosmos was telling him that some people should not be read, some doors should remain locked, and some energies should not be touched. There were immediate repercussions for the client who arranged the reading. They come to take advantage, control, and put pressure on you. They took something quite different with them. The Tower card that appeared was for them, not for you. Destruction, mayhem, and the collapse of imaginary buildings. Their well-planned lives began to crumble in a matter of days. The promotion they were expecting was taken by someone else. Insecurity suddenly disrupted the connection they cherished. Unexpected expenses threatened the stability of their finances. Nothing went right. Nothing went according to plan. They tried to deny the connection. Coincidence, bad luck, random chance. Deep down inside, they knew better. Every setback carried the same signature of energy they felt in the reader's home. Every obstacle seemed purposeful, targeted, personal. Not retaliation, but something deeper. Restoring balance, collecting a spiritual debt. They created the instrument of their own destruction, rather than a weapon to use against you. There are rules in the universe. There are consequences for trying to interfere in someone's protected destiny. They used interest to cover these costs. Every night, they had dreams in which the cards changed, smoke swirled, invisible eyes watched, and judgments without appeal. The hierarchy of spirits is understood by experienced spiritual practitioners. Some individuals have typical spiritual immune systems that provide them with basic defenses throughout their lives. Old souls, empaths, and natural mediums are among those with greater defenses. Then there are the chosen ones, souls with special missions, whose destinies are in harmony with global energies, and who are protected on a level beyond comprehension. The reader was familiar with your kind. He should have seen the warning signs. The client had no chance. Their lack of spiritual knowledge did not protect them. Similar to breaking into a protected vault or infiltrating a protected government system, trying to read a chosen one without permission is a violation of basic spiritual law. Security systems not only prevent you from getting in, but also catch you in the process. This response is the spiritual equivalent of an immune response, targeted, effective, and overwhelming. And it is not random or accidental. The chosen ones do not need to deliberately protect themselves. The cosmos does it automatically. Their protection operates at levels beyond conscious control. The laws of spiritual sovereignty are absolute, non-negotiable. The reader should have been more conscious. The client had to learn the hard way. It is forbidden to contact certain energies without permission. Some destinies are not to be messed with. Some people cannot be touched. Your entry into the reading was not just a brief interruption. You left behind a trace, a spiritual signature. This mark was immediately felt by the reader, a residue of energy that neither salt nor sage can wash away. Unbeknownst to the spiritually sighted, the client also carried it. It was less like a curse and more like a proof, a spiritual fingerprint where their sins had been. The mark changed the way energy moved through their lives and how the cosmos reacted to them. The barrier protecting them disappeared. Their luck turned against them. The reader tried spiritual baths, energy healing, and cleansing practices. The trace did not disappear. Seeking answers, the client asked other psychics for advice. They all recognized the same problem. "Someone is watching you," each of them said, using a different expression. "Why is everything going wrong?" the client persistently asked. The energy signature around them caught the attention of the new medium. A gleam of recognition appeared in her eyes. There was no need to elaborate. "You tried to read someone you shouldn't have read." The sign was a consequence rather than a punishment. It was balance, not revenge. It was long enough for spiritual debts to be paid, for lessons to be learned, for the universe to repair what it had tried to break. It was not forever. In spiritual circles, word travels fast. Not through direct communication or gossip, but through dreams, epiphanies, or cards that deliver the same message over and over again. The reader will never again say your name out loud or think of doing it on purpose. But other vulnerable people have had glimpses, impressions, and warnings of a chosen one who stands up for their rights, shows up when called upon without authorization, and turns the tables on those who try to take advantage of them. Your reputation has grown without you realizing it or making the effort. Psychics turn down readings about you and refuse to accept any amount of money. "I don't read certain energies," they would say carefully. "It is not safe. I can't look into that person's future. I am sorry. Some paths are protected. I will not intervene." Your opponents found themselves even more isolated, distanced from the spiritual knowledge they had previously relied on. Practitioners who could help them recognize the signature of someone they had not dared to confront. The horror spread softly and quickly, not with words, but on purpose. Even skeptics who completely disregarded spiritual principles felt an inexplicable hesitation when your name appeared, a vague uneasiness, a sense of danger not worth the risk. Your enemies remained locked in place, immobilized by uncertainty, unable to understand your next move, unable to prepare or resist as you advanced unchecked. They are trapped in the repercussions of their violations. What emerged in this reading was not an accident or chance. It was a confirmation of what you already felt about yourself. You are different, protected in ways that others are not. You have actually opposed the spiritual invasion instead of just responding to it. You took control of the battlefield instead of just defending it. Instead of stopping the reading, you reversed it and put the blame back on those who started it. You stopped those who tried to cross your route without permission, using them as a model and warning others who might consider committing the same violation. Because your sovereignty has already been established and recognized on levels beyond human comprehension, the universe obeyed your will, not because you wanted it to. The authority in your soul is intrinsic and needs no assertion or proof. You are seen as giving, encouraging, and supportive by others who respect this authority. People who violate it learn why the boundaries are there. Your energy does not seek confrontation or wrongdoing to punish. It defends against threats, reacts to challenges, and restores order when chaos tries to take over. What belongs only to you is not accessible to others. No one can interfere with what is already written in your destiny. No one can touch what the cosmos itself has declared untouchable. That night is etched in many memories. The reader who quit his job, horrified by the border he crossed. The customer whose life was crushed under the weight of spiritual consequences. A larger group of sensitives who perceived a force beyond their control. From different perspectives, they all saw the same thing. You are more than unauthorized access. Reality is something you navigate on your own terms. Divine timing, not human intervention, determines how your destiny unfolds. The immense presence that invaded your sanctuary that night will always be remembered by the reader. The client will never regain the security and assurance that was destroyed by their own actions during that fateful session. You go on, perhaps not knowing that you have won the battles. Even if your conscious mind is not aware of every obstacle that is placed in your name, there is always a part of you that knows. In addition to being in the physical world and moving in material reality, you are also a reckoning, sovereign, inviolable, and protected force in the spiritual world. The evidence is self-evident. The results confirm it. The spiritual community recognizes this. No one can touch you without your permission. You cannot be read without your permission. You cannot be influenced against your will. You are the only one who can follow your path. It is up to you alone to fulfill your destiny. It is up to you alone to direct your energy. This is not ego. This is not pride. This is not special treatment. This is spiritual law at work. This is global balance maintained. This is natural order protected. When they tried to spy on your future, they revealed a fundamental truth. Some souls respond to higher authority. Certain boundaries cannot be violated without consequence. Certain individuals cannot be touched. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this message with people who need to hear it if it speaks to you. Tell us about your experience and how you are preparing for your own triumphant comeback in the comments section below. Don't stop there. Watch our next video for insightful information on the signs that you are the one. We have loved accompanying you on this spiritual journey, and thank you for being with us all along the way. Keep shining brightly and bravely, facing your destiny. See you all later.